As parents of toddlers, making sure our kids get proper nutrition can be a bit overwhelming, especially with all of the seemingly conflicting information that's out there. Last week, I had a chance to interview Dr. Keith Ayoob, child nutrition expert and author of the Uncle Sam Diet, via Skype. Dr. Ayoob shared some very practical advice and answered questions that our knee bouncing parents had sent in via Facebook. So there's a lot of discussion out there regarding children's foods and parents' role in helping to shape a healthy foundation for their kids. This can be especially tricky with toddlers who can be finicky or picky at best. A lot of our readers had questions about how parents can ensure their toddlers are getting proper nutrition and would love to hear your thoughts.
I have lots of thoughts on that. I'll tell you, one of the first things that comes to mind is in my clinic, a lot of parents will tell me that their kids or their toddlers are fussy, picky eaters. And I really want to, hark back to some research that has shown that parents tend to give up offering of food when their child rejects it after, say, 3 or 4 times. Typically, parents will say, well, I'm not going to continue to offer this. She keeps rejecting it. And that's when I have to step in and say, it takes a lot longer before kids really make up their mind whether they like a food or not. So especially when they're doing their best and they're trying to offer healthy foods and their kids pushing them away, that's what toddlers do. And it may take 10 or 12 or even up to 15 different different occasions of offering a new food to a child before they really make up their mind one way or the other. So I tell parents, persist. Don't give up. This is not a sprint. This is a marathon, and you're in it for the long haul.
Those are some great thoughts. I know as a mom of a toddler myself, getting the child to pick up and try the food, it's not even. She definitely sometimes she'll throw it, doesn't want to try it, but sometimes trying the food that's the most. It's one of the things that frustrates me the most because you think if you just tried it, you'd like it.
And that's the truth. And sometimes it's a good idea to give them several foods and say, listen, well, pick which one did you like the most, you'd like to try the most. And you know what? Let them know it's okay if they don't like it. Because they don't like it now. But you know what? We probably liked pureed baby food when we first had it. We probably wouldn't like it now as much. So, because our tastes change, their tastes will change too. But be persistent and make sure that the eating environment is really positive. Now, also important is when you do have a success, you want to make a big fuss over that. So you tell your daughter that, oh, that's great. I'm really proud of you. You tried a new food and you liked it. And so really reinforce the positives associated with that too.
I wonder if we might be able to chat just a minute about the whole sneaky veggie debate. So there are a lot of moms out there who have created cookbooks or strategies for sneaking vegetables into popular toddler foods or popular foods, period. I've broccoli and brownies. That's kind of my favorite one. I can't even fathom that. But anyway, or cauliflower and pancakes. On the other side of the coin, there are those who say that does not promote long-term healthy eating. So I'm just wondering if you might weigh in.
Well, I think if you want to sneak vegetables into food, that's okay, but only if you think of it as a start. It's not where you want to finish. Because when you finish, nobody else in the real world is going to do that. So you want to get kids used to the idea of the tastes of these foods. And I think especially if I like the idea of gradually, if you sneak it into foods, gradually do a little less sneaking. Way to go. I don't think you should sort of stop at sneaking a vegetable in there. That's okay, but to start with, but you need to move on from that as well. And also minimize the foods that are competing with those foods. So a lot of parents will tell me, especially when it comes to snack foods, they might want their kids to eat fresh fruit, but sneaking them into a brownie may not be the best way to go if your kids never want to eat fresh fruit. It might mean that when you give them a brownie, yeah, it's maybe a healthier brownie, but at some point, the brownie's not the snack today. Fresh fruit's the snack today, but you can pick whichever ones you want. That way it gives kids a little bit of control, but we know that whatever choice they make is going to be a good one.
Great. And I know especially as, toddlers and those who are turning two, that control is a big thing because they're just starting to assert that independence.
They are, and you know what? That's a good thing that they're starting to assert the independence, but be careful because they can become very manipulative very, very quickly.
You want to say a little bit more about that?
Oh, yeah, I can say chapter and verse on that. They are manipulative beings if they are allowed to be. That's why it's important to have as much structure, but also have some rewards in there too. And kids love to do what gets them praise. So really try to emphasize what's going to be praiseworthy and steer kids towards that.
I'm really so glad you said something about praising your children because I think, especially in the kitchen, when you're so frustrated because you've tried the food or you've put it in front of them 15 times, and then they finally take a bite, there's that shock and awe.
Oh yeah, and sometimes
I
what
think
happens is
get
that
that.
it can even create a food jag where kids want that food and they want nothing else.
Right.
And that'll last a couple of weeks and then they'll be on to something else, but they'll usually retain that likeness for the food and they'll come back to it as well. And that's when I think it's really important to have not only a healthy diet but also healthy snacks. And snacking is okay for kids, but you want to have as healthy a snack as possible, but ones that kids like as well. And I think there's a point where you can go too far. A lot of parents, for example, get too worried about sugar in breakfast cereal, for example, but I'm not. A lot of parents are wondering why, and I'll tell you, because that's not the source of most sugar that kids get. Okay, that's the source, however, of a whole lot of nutrients and a whole lot of whole grain that kids can get. So I don't really, want to minimize that. I want kids to have those kinds of foods in their diet, and I'd like to minimize, for example, the sugary drinks that don't have anything else going for them but sugar. And actually, studies have shown that kids who eat even sweetened breakfast cereals tend to have lower body weights. They tend to also be breakfast eaters more often, and those are things that I want to emphasize. So parents, calm down. It's okay.
I think you probably just made a lot of our parents very happy by
But,
saying
but I think also really remember, I think breakfast cereal is accounting for it's less than 5% of the sugar that kids get. That's
Wow.
not a priority. It probably gets 95% of the attention. What we really should be directing our attention towards, though, is empty calorie sugary beverages. That's where a lot of it comes through.
A great advice, and I know a lot of our parents are going to take that to heart. While we're on breakfast cereal, let's talk about milk actually for a second,
Sure.
because a lot of our moms out there were wondering when you switch when your toddler goes from being an infant to being a toddler. Some moms say extended breast milk, breastfeeding. Some moms say switch to whole milk. Other moms say do a toddler formula. What's the right way to go?
I'll tell you, there's no one right answer for this. Okay, the best answer is the one that your child will take the easiest. Now, when you start transitioning, you don't have to stop formula or breast milk and start on whole milk. Now, you really don't need to go to low-fat milk. I mean, you really want to go with whole milk until kids are a good 2 years of age, because they have different needs. They're not little adults. So they have a higher need for fat. They have a smaller stomach, so they have to get enough calories to promote healthy normal growth and development. And the need for fat is higher in the first 2 years of life than it is afterwards. So we really recommend keeping it on whole milk until kids are 2, and that's fine. But you can also mix. You can mix formula with a little bit of whole milk and gradually increase the amount of whole milk so that you can transition. But you can do the same thing with breast milk.
I'm wondering though, because summertime is coming and there's so much fresh produce that's available, are there particular fruits or vegetables that you would categorize as, and I hate to use this term, I'm going to put it out there anyway, superfoods for toddlers? Because they are doing so much development.
Right, and I'll tell you, you never go wrong with any fruits and vegetables. I'd be hard pressed to find one that I tell parents, don't even worry about quantity. Give them as much as they want, and that's where you don't have to worry about portion size.
Right. So I guess it's okay that my daughter's a blueberry fanatic.
Oh, absolutely, I love blueberry. In fact, any berries, you're not going to go wrong with berries. Okay, they're some of the highest antioxidant foods you can get, but they're also loaded with a lot of vitamins and minerals. They're loaded with potassium. So blueberries, awesome. And you know what? Think about blueberries. You can pick them up one by one. Same thing with things like garbanzo beans and things like that. Really good, healthy foods for kids, and they can pick them up one by one. Just make sure that they chew them well.
Dr. Ayoob, is there anything else, any other advice you have for parents out there who are readers of Blogger?
I'll tell you, first of all, I always love to see parents who are truly interested. I see too many parents who don't get as actively involved in raising their kids as I wish they would. So props to all you parents out there who are doing that, and realize that nutrition isn't something you have to worry about too much for kids. You want to be conscious of it, but most importantly, enjoy your kids at mealtime and don't make it a stressful time. Have a balanced meal. It can be very simple. As I mentioned, something as simple as a hard-boiled egg and a piece of fruit, ready-to-eat cereal, milk, fruit. These are good, nutrient-rich foods that aren't overly caloric, But also, once you get that good nutritious balance in there, focus on enjoying your kids. And
Don't stress out about it, just enjoy your kids.
yeah, there are those who've gone before you and managed it well, and you will too.
Well, obviously we're here, right?
Right.
So, Dr. Ayoob, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
All right. Have a great afternoon.
You too.